Tuesday morning was set to the day, and me and you talked about it, and actually I reported that in December, I think this was like 3 months ago, we would absolutely at least have a court hearing and a trial begin. Well, Jeffrey Epstein made that happen all the way up until they were about to select the jury, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to cop to it. I wish...
Yeah, the reason, no, Jason, sorry to interrupt you. The reason that happened is because his victims were going to speak. And the federal authorities that were investigating him, there was an FBI investigation on him that was squashed because of a plea deal that he worked out with now one of Trump's administration members that got rid of the FBI investigation. But the FBI investigation found out that there was at least 35 victims of his sexual misconduct, most of them underage. And the Miami Herald, which has been doing really great investigative work. Now, we have to praise journalists when they actually do real good work. The Miami Herald here did incredible investigative work that they spent a lot of time and resources on, and they discovered double that number and more people who were abused by Jeffrey Epstein. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And they found a ton. Now, I want to read what he had to cop to, because he didn't just, by the way, folks, he didn't just have to pay an undisclosed sum. And the lawyer who beat him, Bradley Edwards, gave a 20-minute press conference with his lawyer where they stood in front of piles of documents, my friend. I mean, piles upon piles, and we're going to get to that in a second. This statement should alarm people because it admits to everything we've said, Luke, and he's still not in jail. While Mr. Edwards, this was the lawyer we're talking about, was representing clients against me, I filed a lawsuit against him in which I made allegations about him that the evidence conclusively proves were absolutely false. The truth is that his aggressive investigation and litigation style was highly effective and therefore troublesome for me. The lawsuit I filed was my unreasonable attempt to damage his business reputation and cause Mr. Edwards to stop pursuing cases against me. It did not work. Despite my efforts, he continued to do an excellent job for his clients and, through his relentless pursuit, held me responsible. I am now admitting that I was wrong and that the things I said to try to harm Mr. Edwards' reputation as a trial lawyer were false. I sincerely apologize for the false and hurtful allegations I made and have for some and hope for some forgiveness for my acknowledged wrongdoing. You're not going to get that from me, Jeffrey.
Who made that statement?
That was what Jeffrey Epstein had to cop to. So let me explain what that means to people. Okay, I want to explain that to you. He just admitted that the man that represented over a dozen of these women who accused him of being a multiple-time child molester and pedophile never lied and is correct. And that all these women at least were telling the truth in some regard. And that he did a great job of defending them. So the collusion was in, but just not on this side of it. Now, I want to talk about some things really quickly that went on after this. First of all, he discussed with Derek Brose, who did a great job from the Conscious Resistance, who you've interviewed this year as well, and many times before, by the way, where he had his black book. They discussed the butler we did last week and how he did more prison time than Epstein and then ended up dying. He said in that black book, there was not just Virgin Island masseuses. There was an LA branch. There was a New Mexico branch. There was a New York branch. Do you think these things stopped? And I'm going to give props to Trump here for one thing. He also admitted that out of everybody that he tried to talk to and contacted on behalf of these lawsuits, the only person that picked up a phone, talked to him, and helped him was Trump. So I'm
you have to admit this is a major acknowledgement that does need to be recognized by alternative media, especially with the rumors of Steve Bannon allegedly meeting with Jeffrey Epstein just a few weeks ago, which of course we covered also on this YouTube channel. So Trump's lawyer coming out and saying that does need to be acknowledged. We're not Trump fans, but this is something that I believe is something that he did right and something that he deserves praise for.
At least a little bit. Again, we don't know all the inner workings, but he did call this man and he did offer him information. Another huge thing that the mainstream media doesn't want to touch want to touch about this case. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the
The
end?
mainstream media loves to talk about how it's Trump's cabinet member, and how it's Trump's administration. It's Trump, Trump, Trump that's interconnected with this. But a lot of them aren't really talking about the Kevin Spacey connection, the Bill Clinton connection, the connection to all the other upper echelon elites that Jeffrey Epstein has been connected with. David Horowitz, that's another huge one. No one's talking about David Horowitz, but that guy has a whole bunch of skeletons in his closet as well, and he needs to be confronted and exposed for a lot of the stuff that he's being accused of, which is also just utterly insane.
Well, Luke, they also named Weinstein by name several times at the end of this press conference. They said that they slithered amongst each other in the same circles. Weinstein was mentioned several times.
And then you have Harvey Weinstein, who's basically running Hollywood. And that's somebody who Jeffrey Epstein knows. Those are people that know one another, and they run in the same circles. And once the victims started coming forward one after another, how many times, even after 5, 6, 7 victims of Harvey Weinstein had come forward, were there still doubters? It wasn't until there were so many that Harvey Weinstein himself just couldn't take on the barrage of complaints that everybody said, you know what, that's right.
I disagree with Brad with regard to one significant point. These high-profile abusers are not running in the same circles. They are slithering in the same circles. They are crawling in the same circles. And there is no more running because there is no more place to hide.
Mainstream media didn't touch it. You know why? They don't want to touch it because it's not Me Too anymore. It's after everyone. And you know what? The people are waking up. We're sick of it. We know who the Epsteins of the world are. We know who the Clintons of the world are. We know who the Spaceys and the Singers of the world are. And a lot of people.
Horowitz.
And the Horowitzes of the world are. And you know what? Even old man Bush. There's articles out now of him groping underage girls. Well, I'm going to tell you, there's some books out there you might want to read up on. Franklin Scandal, okay? You might want to read up on it. Might be a little bit worse than groping young girls. We're not here to disparage the dead, but I'm certainly not going to defend somebody who did horrific things against children. All right. You want to get to Wednesday's story, my man?
Yeah. Wednesday stories I haven't really actually seen or know anything about. But as far as the Epstein story, I mean, we've been covering this for years. We've been talking about Jeffrey Epstein for I can't even remember how long back until we started investigating and looking into him and telling everyone, hey, look out for the Lolita Express. Let's get to the bottom of Bill Clinton ditching his Secret Service and flying with this man to, of course, the Caribbean islands. This is a big story. This is something that once again is being completely ignored. It's being brought up because the mainstream media is foaming at the mouth and trying to attack Trump on anything. But we have to understand here, there's a bigger story here than what you're being told. He's also connected to British royalty. This is major, guys. This is something big. This is something that needs our due diligence and our attention, especially to get to the bottom of, because this